So after all these years, Warner Brothers finally got their wish come true. They finally have a Marvel-esque movie on their hands. They have replicated the Marvel formula for the DCEU, even going as far out as hiring James Gunn to make a movie. He came in, made a Marvel movie for DC. Everything is good with the world. And then the movie bombs. Assalamu alaikum YouTube. I finally got around to seeing the Suicide Squad after having absolutely no interest in seeing it. But I went ahead and saw it, and while there were some really good things in the movie, overall I think this was a pretty mediocre movie, and I particularly did not like some really important things and the creative choices that they made for this movie. And I think many people felt the same way, because this movie has bombed pretty bad at the box office, and let's not blame the pandemic for that entirely, because Space Jam 2, one of the worst movies that has ever come out in recent memory, made more money than Suicide Squad 2. So I think Warner Bros. Finally has their answer of replicating, imitating, copying the MCU, and maybe now they can understand that maybe their hardcore fan base does not actually want Marvel similar movies. They want the DCEU that was started back in 2013 with Man of Steel. Now one of the things that I really hated about this movie is something that has been happening to Hollywood for the past many years at this point, and that is whenever new management comes in and takes over production of a sequel of an existing IP, the first thing they do is try to kill off as many of the original characters that were in the previous movie, for no obvious reason. Captain Boomerang, one of the OG characters from the original 2016 version, one of the survivors of that Suicide Squad, is unceremoniously killed in the first 5 minutes of this movie, along with that entire really colorful and visually interesting looking cast that was promoted so heavily in the trailers for this movie. Nathan Fillion, 2 scenes? Really? You got Nathan Fillion and you didn't give him anything else to do? That was your big creative decision? Not only that, but they decided to go with the second team of the Suicide Squad that consists of Idris Elba's Bloodsport and John Cena's Peacemaker, Ratcatcher 2, and the Polka Dot Man, who, apart from Polka Dot Man, all of the others were really, really visually boring compared to those guys that they just killed off in the first 5 minutes of the movie. And speaking of Idris Elba, who thought that replacing Will Smith with Idris Elba was a good choice? Bloodsport is basically same as Deadshot. They both have similar backstories. He was basically Deadshot light, poor man's Deadshot. You replaced Will Smith, one of the most charismatic person in Hollywood at this point forever, and you replaced him with Idris Elba, who honestly is an excellent actor. He gives his best performance here, but compared to Will Smith, sorry man, that was one of the stupidest decisions that you could make, and this was made just so that they could push themselves away from David Ayer's cut. Now back in 2016, Warner Bros. Really messed up David Ayer's movie, because I'm pretty sure David Ayer made a really good movie, because in the released version that was butchered beyond recognition, there were some aspects that I think would have been really interesting and awesome to look if David Ayer had been given free rein to do what he wanted to do, just like James Gunn was. But apart from an R rating, this is basically just a Marvel movie. They kill off characters left and right, and whereas Marvel movies do the exact same thing where they follow up a serious note, a serious scene instantly with a very cringy joke or a slapstick comedy situation, they do the exact same thing in this movie, and it just doesn't work, because in this R-rated movie, most of those scenes that are instant comedy scenes that follow a serious scene mostly end up in the deaths of some of the Suicide Squad characters, and that is pretty lame in my opinion. Now, out of all of the team, I think Polka Dot Man was the most interesting to me personally, because his backstory that his mom experimented on him and his siblings to give them superpowers in for this interdimensional virus kind of thing, and he has this like brain condition where he only sees his mother in every person that he sees. That was like really interesting to me, and I wanted to see them take it to a more significant road and like really explore that thing. They kind of like do that with him at the end of the movie. It kind of like comes into play at the very end boss fight, but just like Marvel, slapstick, poorly timed comedy, he gets instantly killed, and that's the end of Polka Dot Man. Idris Elba survives, Ratcatcher 2 survives, John Cena, Peacemaker, is responsible for the murder of Rick Flag, who I think is one of the more interesting characters in this movie. I was really looking forward to him. They kind of like imply that he and Harley Quinn might have something between them, and I think that would have been a really good route to take. But you know, the current climate in Hollywood, no woman needs no man, and they just instantly kill him off in the most bizarre of ways by Peacemaker. And Warner Brothers again is banking on John Cena's Peacemaker to continue an HBO Max series, which I think is a terrible decision, because not only is John Cena not a very good actor, he had some good scenes, but overall he was not a good actor. The character himself is very boring, and I think it's gonna be absolutely horrible. Now obviously not everything was bad. The music of this movie was really good. The songs were used very nicely in some of the scenes, especially that scene in which they are like dancing in the bar, and the visuals for the most part were really good. Starro, I think, just it looked okay. It wasn't anything special, but it looked okay. I think Starro was big enough of a villain that they could have used him for a bigger plot, honestly, but it is what it is. He gets killed in the end by rats. Ratcatcher 2 saves the day, and that's pretty much it. Idris Elba, Margot Robbie, Joel Kinnaman, Viola Davis, they are like really good actors. They fit their roles perfectly, and I forget his name, the Polka Dot Man's actor. He's been in a bunch of Marvel movies and DC movies, I'm pretty sure. He was pretty good in his role too. The cast, for the most part, was really good, except John Cena, because you couldn't see him for the most of the Anyway, that's pretty much it. I am kind of like really sad about this movie because, like I said, it's not a bad movie, but it wasn't like really appealing, I'm pretty sure, to many people. That's why it did really bad at the box office, because Warner Brothers just doesn't seem to understand that if you do not have that holding glue, that overarching plot for your cinematic universe, there's nothing holding it together for fans to give a shit about it. MCU had Thanos for their first 4 phases. Zack Snyder gave you the perfect opportunity to introduce your big bad in a bigger and more quicker way with his Justice League movie. It ended on the perfect note, and you messed it up, and now you're gonna pay the price for it, because nobody is interested in seeing these disjointed and not related movies. And I think Suicide Squad is the first victim of this new approach, and I'm very sad about it, because James Gunn is a very good director and he deserves better. With that said, let me know what you all think about this movie, and if you enjoyed the video, please do consider leaving a like and subscribe to the channel. Help me reach 1000 subs. It's been 3 years, for God's sakes. I'm stuck at below 1000. How long it's gonna take? Do your part, help a brother out. Stay safe, stay cool, peace out.